All right, welcome back to the channel, and I am doing my first ever disc review, and we are doing it with the Elevation Discs Psychic. Let's roll an intro, then we'll get doing it. All right, so like I said, today we are reviewing the brand new driver from Elevation Discs. This is the Psychic. If you're not familiar with Elevation Discs, instead of molding their discs with traditional plastics, they use rubber materials. They got several different blends. This is their first high-speed driver. This has got a 12-speed, 5 glide, -1 turn, and 2 fade, which will be interesting, and I really hope that those numbers are pretty accurate, but we'll find out. Now, if you follow this channel, you know that I'm a huge fan of Elevation Discs. Their putters, the Koi is my putting putter. I love them. I can't get away from them. I've been using those a lot more in approach shots. I don't want to segue too much into other molds, but just to compare their drivers, they first came out with the Binks 2 years ago in that newcomer rubber that was more rigid than the other ones, but still kind of floppy, and I fell in love with it right away. The Gecko was more in this EcoFlex, which is the same thing that this Psychic is in, which is a little bit more rigid. Now, I haven't thrown this one a lot. If you watched one of the very first videos I ever did on this channel, where I threw all Elevation discs, I was throwing this one a lot and kind of liking it, but it's not one I typically use in rounds just because I don't find a practical use for it in my setup. But like I said, we're talking about the Psychic here today. We're gonna do some throws. I've only got one, so I'm gonna be doing a lot of running back and forth and probably be out of breath. But I'm gonna throw a couple flat shots, a couple Hyzer, a couple Anhyzer. We'll throw a couple forehands just to see how it feels, and then we'll come back and give you my final thoughts on it. Just for frame of reference, I'm typically I would say 375-foot max distance golf shot consistency type player. Sometimes I can throw a little over 400, sometimes I can throw it into Brenda's backyard. So we're not trying to do that. We got a pretty decent headwind coming in from left to right the way I'll be throwing, which is why I'm trying to face this way. But let's just do it. Let's see how it flies. Oh, I also do have catch cam out there at about 380 feet. Oh man, I released that super early. It's my first throw of the day, so let's throw another one. Okay, so that was a pretty bad release, but still flew pretty good. I was happy with it. Again, this wind's coming in left to right pretty hard, so held up to the wind good. Still went about 325, 330. Didn't measure it, but this is my practice field, so I know where the distances are. Gonna try another flat release, try to get this more thrown at the camera. That came out nice.
Get out of the way.
I may have Anhyzered that and threw it low a little bit. I'm gonna go grab it and try it again. But we're gonna try another flat throw straight at catch cam, best that I can. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Sorry for all my oh yeahs, but I really like that flight. All right, so that one came in right at 353 feet, stop. Now we'll say that it looks like to me, I'll have to check catch cam, that this thing is hitting the ground and just stopping, which is what you want. This also is pretty thick grass, but I'm out of breath and I'm on a time crunch. So let's see if I can throw one out here to the left on Anhyzer a little bit. I am not good at throwing Anhyzer shots. So we'll try our best, see if we can throw one out there kind of on an Annie. Nice lift, kind of stalled it out. I'm throwing it nose up. That's my fault, not the disc. Came out to the center, so it did fade back out there at the end. I might try one more Anhyzer. Look at that coming out. Look at that coming out. That's really nice. That's really nice. I'm loving this so far. Yeah, so that last Anhyzer bombed. It was actually pin high of catch camera down there, which I set up at that 375 mark. So it should have been 375-ish. I don't have an exact measurement, but still, I'm not trying to crush it. Out of breath though, but really good. But let's throw a couple backhand Hyzers real quick. Ooh boy, that's crushing. Look, there's considerable wind coming from this way. I know I keep saying that. Let me show the flags over here. If I can zoom in a little bit on these flags blowing right towards us. One more Hyzer throw. I measured that back to the bag. It was 340, so I'm about 5 feet off here of where I'm throwing. So 335, 340 on a Hyzer. I will say it flipped up the flat and kind of just went straight and then finished with the fade. Had a little bit of turn, little bit of turn. But again, that's that wind coming off this side. Let's do one more Hyzer throw. Man, that is beautiful. I'm throwing it high and nose up, but I'm liking the flight. Landed right back in the middle. We're gonna go grab that. That's right in front of catch cam, so that should be that 340, 350-ish area, but we're going to now try a forehand. Full disclaimer, I don't have that great of a forehand, especially for anything distance-wise, but we're gonna see if we can flick this out there on a Hyzer, mainly because I'm concerned about that wind, and I tend to, like most people with bad forehands, burn stuff over. Something I'm working on, but I just wanna see how this reacts to my forehand, not to forehands in general. Okay. All right, one last quick little forehand flick, and then we'll move on. Again, I'm not gonna do this disc any justice with my forehand. Now, I'm not gonna try to bomb this one. I just wanna try to see maybe, can we get like 275 to 300 just on a little flick. Okay, that's better. That's better. That's not a crush. I'm right of where I wanted to be, but that's it. That wraps it up for my test flights and my kind of miniature review of the Elevation Disc Psychic. Again, it's a 12.5 -1.2 disc according to the manufacturer. I agree with those numbers. I got everything I expected and everything I wanted out of this disc throwing it backhand, which for their discs, I don't throw them forehand because my forehand, again, is not that good, and I'll just not throw it good. And I don't want to blame the disc for that, that's me, but I'm working on that. But for this disc for backhand, 100% going in the bag. I'll be using it a lot for casual rounds over the next few weeks and see how it plays on the course. But for doing a real quick field test with, no warm up and, no reference or anything like that, was really happy to see the way that it would handle flipping up and getting a little bit of turn and fading out, especially when I threw it on Hyzer. Like the Hyzer flip out of this was a little bit more flip and a little bit more glide than I would expect, but that's a good thing. Last note on it, obviously with it being rubber, the huge point behind them and the claim to fame with them is that when they hit the ground, they don't go running off on you. Now, obviously, extreme circumstances, that's not gonna be the case. If you're on some huge hill, doesn't matter what your disc is made of, if it's not completely floppy, it's gonna roll a little bit. Out here on flat ground, stop basically immediately from what I could see. I'll check and post on the catch cam to see if there's any difference there. But for my taste, I love this. And let's talk about the colorway real quick, because we're talking about the functionality of the disc, which is the most important, but the looks of the disc are important to some people, myself being one of those. So this Bayou color scheme, I love it. I love purple, I love yellow, and this green mixed in. It's a beautiful, beautiful disc. The Psychic Frog on here, it's awesome. So that's pretty much, this is a 172 gram weighted disc too. So really love this. I'm gonna be using this a lot. If there's any field or any kind of open shot that's that 325 to 375 foot distance, I'm gonna try to use this disc for that during my play, unless there's some specific shape that I feel like maybe this won't do. But really looking forward to this being in my bag. Gonna play around with it. So thank you, Elevation Disc, for continuing to put out new molds. I'm personally enjoying them. I can't wait for the next one. I was waiting for the distance driver, and just really gonna have some fun with this one. So for once in my videos, I'm not gonna end it by asking you to do all the things. You guys know what they are. That's it for this video. Again, I always appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one. Now let's clean up my mess and get out of here. It is 4 o'clock on the dot. We gots to go. We gots to go. We gots to go.